Everybody, welcome to a conversation and the very last conversation on
Ever.
Sermon on the Mount.
Ever? Wow, we're done.
I mean, I hope it's quite a few years before we go.
Really? I still feel like there's still so much.
Yeah,
like,
there's so much other stuff though.
I know, but I think, man, the Sermon on the Mount is so heavy that I feel like,
Heavy is not the right word.
I mean,
Weighty.
it's deep. I mean, it feels a little heavy, profound.
Yeah.
I mean, all the things that I feel like every week could be like a month of lessons to
Like
try
muscle.
to.
Yep.
I don't
Twice, the same person, but the same person said twice that we're going to start over again. Right?
Yeah.
So we could finish the full year.
Do another one.
27 weeks we've spent in the Sermon on the Mount.
Has it been like, has there been moments of like, I don't know if heart change is the right word, but like something that like stuck out? Because I feel like for me, there's been some moments of like one of the things like talking about anger has been something that I've been like, oh.
Is your voice going to crack already as you just say that?
I think I'm okay.
Okay.
I mean, I had to take a breath for a second, but.
Had to take a breathe.
I think the last like 5 or 6 weeks have been excellent. I feel like when we started the series, I feel like you didn't have there's something about the culmination of what you were just talking about
Yeah.
I
that
agree.
actually gives importance. So like if we were to do it again, I would love to figure out how to almost do it in reverse or like give better perspective from early on. Because I even think like the Beatitudes, it was a lot of like, it just felt not as weighty or not as meaningful.
I thought too, like when I was kind of looking through the Beatitudes, I think like each of the Beatitudes connects to something later.
Yeah.
Like you could almost break it where it's like, this is a Beatitude and here's where it breaks down more in the sermon. And then, you know, like there's a lot of connecting points that makes like the end of it feel really.
Yeah, like if we did the Beatitudes again,
Which maybe that's what's going to be next week.
That actually could be a cool for the future. Have the beginning, go through the rest, and then go back and teach the beginning again.
Yeah.
It'd be very interesting.
I think that
We could just add one more week.
It's like a Jesus teaching Oreo.
I think
It's
a
much
lot
tastier.
a lot of book studies, I think that sometimes the singular theme can become, you know, on week number 8, you're like, okay, maybe we should have crunched these 17 chapters into one. Because it's over and over again. And I do want to, at the same time, I want to give what's deserved. You know, repetition is a tool. Sometimes repetition is used as a tool in our culture. But I, at all cost, will avoid watching a commercial. And so I have some disdain to repetition in that way. But
also, some people like watch the same TV show.
Like Seinfeld.
Yeah.
That seems
I've seen Seinfeld.
terrible to me.
Yeah,
I like
I
it.
live with one of those.
I do that.
So those people might love to do this.
So we, just before we went live, we're going to do one last survey thing. And so it's a little bit of a ploy doing this. It's because I truly thought it's each of the elements of the Sermon on the Mount and then giving a score of 0, meaning I've nailed it, figured it out, I don't have to think about it anymore, just I am that, to a 7.
Oh, I scored these the opposite.
Yeah, so did I. I had to go back and
Why did
scratch
my
them.
brain?
That's why. That's at the beginning why he said.
So I think there's intentionality in that, is that the goal of the Sermon on the Mount is not to say, check, done, finished, but rather to be continually processing. But to use this as a tool throughout our conversation on Sunday to think cumulatively, like even just what we just talked about for the last few minutes, is that the Sermon on the Mount it's so much, and it's pretty remarkable to think about a 20-minute, something said in 20 minutes that you go, this has a lifetime of digging into it. That's hard to do. And so, but to use this as a catalyst, as a tool to think about, you know, what is the value of, or what is the impact of thinking, I've mastered it, I figured it out, because that was the religious authorities. They wouldn't have necessarily said that about these things. They had other things that they had mastered. But the feelings of mastered or completed or the best at has impact on your faith and processing. I was thinking this is a great moment to talk about the directional as opposed to be a bounded set, to think about how life and faith is not, all right, I'm in. I've got a good enough score for all of these things, and so I'm done. But rather to see life and faith as being something that, all right, so what is blessed? I need to spend the rest of my life thinking about as I step into each moment. Is this externally blessed, that culture, or even my guts would say perfect? Or is this am I truly living in the favor of the blessing of God? And so I totally thought giving each of these things a score, I've not felt anything more made up ever. But the goal is not to just sit in this and just go, did I give myself the right score? Hopefully the goal is to go, I think healthy would be, not necessarily the number, but if I would just go, man, I gotta keep this in focus. Here's another one. I gotta keep this in focus. Because that's what Jesus is saying at the end of the Sermon on the Mount. Hear these words and put them into practice. He could have said, hear these words and have no fault, haven't mastered all this.
Better be perfect.
Better be perfect. But rather that concept of putting it into practice is this continued focus. And that is a line that's so full of grace. Yeah. Like being able to be told, hey, like it's admitting you're probably not gonna do this right. Yeah. Let's keep trying. Yeah. That is right.
Yeah. Well, and I really like this, like just studying into this, and like we're the focus verse is the wise and foolish builder, and it's here. Like I like this. It's the same storm, but there's the wise builder that's taking all these things and putting them into practice, and then there's the foolish builder that's heard them but isn't putting them into practice. And what are the outcomes of the same storm? And the one that has put him into practice has a foundation that's solid, and the other one is, it's building your house on the sand. Your house ends up in the sea. Yeah. But like the whole, I guess, stepping back a little bit, but the whole idea is like this. It's thinking of this apprenticeship relationship with Jesus, where you're constantly learning and growing and walking more in this, and not just like.
Do you think this was because Jesus was a carpenter kid?
Maybe it was. It was the carpenter. It was the carpenter stories. He's like, well, I know about building. I love that. But just like walking alongside someone, like you're not going to know how to do it in a day, but you're constantly learning something from an expert.
I also like when I was younger, I felt like this was taught, or I understood it to be like the house built on solid ground is those of us like having faith, and the other one is the people not having faith. But the reality is everybody is having faith. It's just what your faith is in. Like everybody's doing the thing. The house is built either way.
The storm's coming.
There's no like I'm not building it on anything. Everybody's building their life on something. Yeah. And so what is that built on? That matters.
Yeah. I was thinking about like anger specifically when you just said that, because I was thinking, I know like in relationship when there's some people I've had frustration with, and like it wasn't you, Greg, not this time at least. Okay. Not anybody. Hey. I wasn't thinking of anybody just in here. But like when you
works clockwise.
Spinner
pointed today. But even that, what is happening? But like when you have this foundation of grace and the way you're treating people and kindness and all of these things, like when you do end up in a frustrating situation, you've already kind of built something that helps you work through it. Whereas if you started in anger and irritable and everything you do is terrible and I think you're just a jerk, and like when something bad happens, like the whole relationship explodes,
I think of an illustrator for me is that there's probably an age around, 6 or 7, a kid.
6, 7, sorry.
Oh my word.
I'm sorry, he said 6 or 7.
Get out.
Oh my goodness.
I live with middle schoolers.
Yeah, how many times I heard that during the
Okay, I'm sorry.
For the first time the other day. I retreat. But so there's an age around 7 or 8. That's like you might have a moment when you're telling a kid or showing a kid how to do something, and then all of a sudden the kid is the expert. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, like when a kid is explaining how the universe works or how technology works, and they are completely wrong. But you're like, you just kind of like, okay, buddy, tell me about planets and infinity, and sure, I see you got that all figured out. But I think we have that potential as older people. And I think the person who is standing in the audience in front of Jesus, in front of the crowd in front of Jesus, in the crowd in front of Jesus, and us to go, oh yeah, Jesus, I get it. Oh yeah, perfect. That like the admiration and like, in hardcore Christian culture, like, amen, Jesus, keep going, you're on it. And then with that, this feeling of being like, I'm the master of this,
Mm-hmm.
you miss it all. At that mentality just steers you in completely the wrong way. And so when you think about, relationship with people, you said anger, but all of these different things, if you have this moment when you go, oh yeah, for sure, don't worry, I get it. Yeah, I don't worry, but then you are drowning in it. Yeah. Or if you see these things, again, as Jesus' theme, as the internal as opposed to the external, if you just say, man, I will give every effort to look like I've got these things figured out and that I look like an expert in this. Like the heart goes, like the humble heart. I see Jesus shares the parable of the tax collector and the religious authority in the temple. Like the thing that, as we would go through the Beatitudes, that we would be the one in the corner beating our chest going, oh God, forgive me. Yeah. Refine me, accept me, extend grace to me, as opposed to, I'm so glad I'm the gift. And so the upside down that comes to Jesus's last words is that in the humility of embracing that I still need to be in process of this, that's actually building you on a solid foundation, as opposed to the one that is saying, got it, nailed it, figured it out. Because in that declaration, that external declaration, what's actually under your feet is probably sand.
Yeah.
And the idea of process too is reflected in the language, in the original Greek and stuff. You're seeing these continuous tenses.
Yeah.
You're not seeing that says do this, check it off. It says doing this.
Yeah.
And so it is the process, and it's not some there is no I did it. It's it's like this continuous doing this, because we couldn't accomplish it. But we'd have to continue to try and live in that process.
We're going to have a moment of flipping over this piece of paper, and it's just blank. It's white. There's nothing on it to process, like, what is the next, and putting this into practice. And maybe it's a stretch. I don't think it really is, but Jesus' next moments after the Sermon on the Mount are him immediately seeing value in somebody who had leprosy, who was unclean, supposed to be outside of community. Jesus touched him. Jesus, again, saw him as a person even before he healed him. And so like his example of living out his Sermon on the Mount, like there's so much internal happening for that external moment. And then his next moment after that is he heals a centurion's servant. And this declaration of, again, value of somebody who's an outsider. Of celebrating somebody's faith who is not even part of their culture or their community, this Roman, who would be part of the Roman occupation or oppressor. And so for us to flip over the paper and go, all right, one side is the Sermon on the Mount, but then to go, all right, what's next? How does that, literally thinking about your week, thinking about your day, and going, how do Jesus' words impact how we have these next moments? And I think there's something poignant or poetic to say, having it be a blank page, because, and then to write on it, because that's life. You just don't know. There isn't like a bullet point of what happens next, but the calling or the hope is that you would bring these internal changes to what is next. But to dream about that, put it in perspective, and not just, again, have that mentality like, I got it, Jesus, and then nothing changes.
I think, we had a prayer and worship night last night, which was really good. And we talked a little bit about, or I was just thinking about, like, how we can be really busy and not really see what Jesus is doing in our moments and in our life. And I think that's accurate. And I also think that part of living this out is in the busy. Like, you have to have some foundation that says, okay, like, I want to put these things into practice. I think it's important to have some foundation, like the Lord's Prayer, like they're asking for daily bread. So I feel like there's some dailiness to this. There is some importance of like having a moment where you're like connecting with God and all of that. And life, you can't live this out without a little life happening. Like if you are spending all your time in prayer, which would be, I don't know, that would maybe be the way I could do life, but some people, if you're spending but you're not ever like in community, like this is not how do you grow in this? You have to have a little bit of life happening for you to live these things out. And so I was like, the busyness of like, I do think there's moments of being too busy, but also like in the busyness of life, alongside with some devotion and relationship building with Christ, like that's how you live this out. Like that, it can't be in its own vacuum. Like it has to
I think, I mean, use the word busy, but I'd even expand it farther to, life in the midst of the storms. And so Jesus' declaration at the end of the Sermon on the Mount is not, go and live life without busy or tragic or painful or opposition.
Storms are constant.
Storms are constant. Jesus is like a celebratory moment that go live life in the chaos and the challenges, and feel that you're on this solid foundation. Don't feel like you're about to fall off the edge.
There's opportunity for constant practice.
Yeah. Nobody's and I think that, I would be, at best suspect, but if somebody said, boy, I haven't faced a storm in quite a while, I'm like,
you might be turning off your emotions or something.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Or to bring that as almost like as a, like use Christianese, like to bring that as a praise report.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to celebrate, be thankful that I haven't faced any storms recently. And one, I think that God, who is hilarious, would love to answer that praise report. Yeah. But two, I think that if we've said it, as you've said, is that if our goal is to, if that's what we're aiming for, which is so easy to do, is we're going to miss a lot of what is life. Or Jesus' words exploding into life.
Rich, you got to wrap up for us? Rich's wrap up.
Ooh, we can get the song for the last one. Two things. First one, Scott already kind of talked a little bit about the ongoingness of the Greek, but I just, this weekend, got to teach on Ephesians 2. And a lot of times we sit in Ephesians 2 at the beginning, that you were dead in your transgressions and now you've been made alive, like that made alive phrase, and then 8 and 9 has been great. It is by grace you've been saved through faith, like all that part. But what we don't look at is the very end of that chapter. Ephesians 2:22 says, and in him you two are being built together to become a dwelling. It didn't say, and in him you two have been built or are going to be built. It's our being. Yeah. And no matter if they read it then or we read it now, it's continuous. It's our being built together. And then the other thing, I think, in these things that we get to look at and go, okay, we haven't mastered them. We probably shouldn't rank all of these as high as possible. In fact, I look at it and go, if someone ranked these as high as possible and I looked at it, then I would have to lower my judgment one a little bit. So it's just, but I think also as we see these things being cultivated in others, then that's an opportunity for us to encourage and for us to accept that. The other verse that came to mind is in Colossians 3, when it says all these things, be kind, be humble, be gentle, be patient. And there's one moment where it says, and be thankful. And I think that is towards God and towards others. Like when there's a moment where it's like, hey, you're doing a great job at this thing. I saw you loving this person really well. Instead of going, the deflection tactic. Oh yeah, they love people great. No, thank you. Like the gratefulness. So the ongoing idea of continue to build on this foundation, continue to figure out all these blessings and figure out how to do these things and not judge and that's Christ-like. That's walking. Good stuff.
All right, we'll see you guys next week for a new series.